Hello, my name is Janice Smith and I'm going to talk to you today about Scottish death records and how useful they can be for tracing your families back in time. As a qualified professional genealogist, specialising in Scotland, one of the most useful documents I find for tracing families are Scottish death records. The information on the death certificate of anyone who died in Scotland from 1855 onwards contains far more information than you may be used to finding on records from England and Wales. So let's look at the death certificate of Peter Redpath, a relative of mine who died in 1865 as an example. So we can see that Peter here was a mason and he was married to Christian Grubb at the time of his death. Christian was probably alive at the time of his death because it doesn't say that she was deceased. He died on the 3rd of April 1865 at Belhaven, Dunbar. Belhaven is a small village close to the town of Dunbar on the east coast of Scotland, not too far from Edinburgh. So Peter was 69 when he died. Here comes the useful information that can help you trace your relatives back in time. On the death certificate we have the name of both Peter's parents. Peter's father was Archibald Redpath, who was a farm servant, and his mother was Helen Redpath, and her maiden name was Montgomery, and they're both deceased at the time of his death. Knowing whether someone was alive or dead at a certain point in time can be very helpful for corroborating other information you may have gathered from other records. Peter died from bronchitis, which he'd had for some time, and it is possible that his job as a stonemason contributed to his illness. Another very useful bit of information we have is from the informant. Because people often died at home, the informant was usually a relative. So here we see John Williamson was the son-in-law of Peter. So the information that we've gathered here, we know the name of his wife, we know her maiden name, we know the name of both his parents, including his mother's maiden name, we know how old he was when he died, and we know that he has a son-in-law called John Williamson. So all this information can be used to look for people in census, birth, marriage and other records. Death certificates in Scotland from 1855 contain information that's very useful for tracing relatives further back in time. So if you're trying to trace Scottish relatives, don't focus on births and marriages, but search out the death certificates. Good luck with your research. Thank you for listening.